I think my French is better than my Chinese.
In Vancouver, they think people in Ottawa are high up in the government. So they say, well, I have a son or grandson who's in China, who's waiting for a visa to come over. Can you do something about it? Gosh, I don't know a single politician in Ottawa.
Perhaps you know Harry Sim and Hin Lu, but do you know their stories? Now you can find a way into that past in the website Lives of the Family. To create this website, we interviewed descendants of some 20 families. We looked through family albums. We opened shoeboxes which stored photographs and documents, from head tax certificates to letters. On Lives of the Family, you can trace the immigration route of families from China, usually to points west and eventually to Ottawa and small towns nearby, like Smith Falls, Perth, Brockville. You can look at more than 200 old photographs. You can view video clips and listen to first-person stories. You'll find stories that mirror those of the Chinese across Canada.
Halfway here, they passed the Exclusion Act in 23, but fortunately, when she got into Victoria, through the assistance of the church where my father belonged to, she was able to get landed here.
Look for stories behind the photos. The Wong's eldest child, age 7, is marooned in China and missing from this one. Learn what made life different for the Chinese in Ottawa. Hin Lu noticed less anti-Chinese sentiment here.
Well, when I left Vancouver, I went to Toronto first. And there I felt a tremendous difference between the West and the East. I was very self-conscious though. When I moved around and I was looking for a room, the first question I asked was, do you take Chinese boarders?
Imagine the sense of isolation if you were the only Chinese family in town. Yet that was exactly what attracted the Langs.
My dad asked him, you know any restaurant in a small town for sale? So he said, yes, we know one in Cobb.
Ottawa became a boom town. Government jobs brought young Chinese like Hin Lu here. When Canada ended exclusion, Marion Hum and her husband were among the first immigrants in more than 2.5 decades. They opened their restaurant opposite Ottawa's first shopping center.
Since Westgate is open, that's the gate. A gate needs a key to open the gate. So that's why we choose the name called Lucky Key. That's the name come from. But I think it's a good name anyway.
Some say stories like these are the same old story of Chinese laundrymen and restaurateurs. But from these beginnings, families established their lives here. They came in their Sunday best to church. They played hockey. They loved the great outdoors. They used their individual talents and pursued opportunity. Lives of the Family is a tale of Canada. Discover these stories. Share your own. Click on About Us on the website and contact us.
I want to skip forward a little. We also did a lot of focus on Chinese Aboriginal families. I won't talk that much about it, but just to say that if you want to go to our website, we have fridge magnets here to help you to get there. We put a lot of this all online, the oral histories. We also have a limited number, 3 DVDs here for the first 3 people to rush up here after we're done. I also wanted, we have a searchable head tax, all of those students who spent 18 months blinding themselves for the good of the rest of us. It's searchable, so if you have a head tax ancestor, you can try to find them on this searchable database at our website. We have a mobile interactive kiosk. It's in Vancouver Public Library right now in the main branch in the lobby. You can go try that out. It's also in Ottawa at the Public Library. We have a third one. Hopefully we'll go into the CCC soon in a couple months. We also work with teachers. to work on, again, using technology to do learning games so that the students that they had would benefit. The Critical Thinking Consortium is a nonprofit nationwide. We worked with them, a lot of wonderful teachers. And so I'm just going to show you very quickly one of the things we did, which was to work with, again, students who are video game design students. And what we want to do is create an immersive experience to be able to plunge a grade 5 to 7 student into the world of 1911 in a small BC town. And so they will get to go around, play a video game, right, and explore the town, learn by doing what it was like, that how central the Chinese were, the restaurant owner, the grocery store owner, the laundryman, right? And they'll interact with the characters, collect stuff. All the stuff is actually archival material that is in the Chung collection, the Dr. Wallace and Madeline Chung collection at UBC or in the BC archives. And so they interact with history like I would as a historian and as a researcher. So they're doing it hands-on while playing a game. And that would be something that a teacher could assign, go home and play this. But in class would be this other one we worked with teachers called Pages from the Past, which is, again, it's a learning game where they would go into the past by using a magic sort of photo scrapbook and help give advice to these people who would be their ancestors on decisions, 2 important decisions. So one of the characters is trying to decide whether to leave the village in China and join the husband in Canada with her kids, or is it better to stay in the village? So you have to learn about her, what her values are, and the student has to then give advice based on that. And if it's good advice, they get gold coins. If they give crappy advice, they don't get that gold coin. So gold is still there. It's called Pages from the Past.
Come, please sit down. Would you like a cup of tea? I am Quan Lam. I came to Canada in 1858, seeking gold. Allow me to introduce you to my family. We have had to make many difficult life decisions. Please help us consider the wisdom of our choices. My family members have been happy with their lives in Canada, but sometimes I wonder if they made the best decision. What advice would you give each of them? Help them on their journey, and I will share my goal with you. To give the best advice to my family, you must first identify their beliefs, values, and attitudes from their point of view, not your 21st century point of view. Second, consider the beliefs, values, and practices of the time to understand the factors beyond their control that affected their choices. My scrapbook has a page for 4 of my descendants. Carefully read and listen to the clues to better understand each of them. If at any time you are not sure what to do, click on my picture. I will help. If you offer good advice, I will give you some gold pieces from the Fraser Gold Rush. It is said, those who take advice gain wisdom. At the end of your journey, you can use my gold to give my descendants more than wisdom. You can use it to change their lives.
Okay, and finally, the last thing, we worked with Stanford to basically create a learning tool that was for researchers and for people interested. And we call it the gumball machine. And what this is it's a visualization using that database which shows each individual of those 97,123. We picked a small subset, and which village and county they're coming from and where they were heading. But just to sum up, one of the things we want to do, as I said, was to use technology in a way that is accessible, fun, so that history doesn't become something that is talked at people, but is a way to connect across generations, so that there's the transfer of knowledge across generations. And that's all education is. It's just one form of generational knowledge transfer. And so what we want to do is to get a away from the idea that a teacher at the front of a room talks at a bunch of young people, and the generational transfer is an old person telling a young person what to think, versus having an interaction where that younger person, it's their curiosity, it's them who's building the knowledge themselves. It's going to be much more meaningful. And as they do things like interview an elder, then in creating the story for themselves, they're also learning about what it was like for their grandfather or grandmother. The best example, and if you go to our website, you'll see a short film we did with the great-grandchildren of C.D. Hoy that Gene Barman mentioned. And what that was about was just sort of talking about how they, for a school project, each of them, discovered who their great-grandfather was. And you'll see them explaining to you who C.D. Hoy was. It's much more interesting to hear C.D. Hoy's great-grandchildren talk about who C.D. Hoy is and what it means to them than for me to talk to you about C.D. Hoy.